Hi, my name is Lisa, and I am a professional matchmaker that helps people fall in love with VR for the first time or deeper in love with VR by enabling communities across the VR ecosystem. I've been helping people fall in love with VR since 2015. Now, if you're anything like me, you're a sucker for a great love story, and if you're not, well, I guess you're along for the ride, because today I am going to help you write your love story between your app, your community, and your super users, also known as advocates. So how does this love affair begin? Well, first I want to start out with some spoilers. There are 3 things that I really want you to get out of our time together. Number 1, talking about engaging with advocates and super users is really making the case for thinking about community as a feature, not just a one-to-many conversation. Number 2, I'm going to make the case for advocates as the most powerful people to partner with as you build your community. And finally, number 3, I'm going to share a community building framework that is foundational to support both community building and enabling advocacy. So let's talk about who all these characters in the storyline are and who they aren't. Facebook is one of the biggest community building platforms in the world, and community is baked in our core mission, which means the word gets used a lot when we talk about VR, which is why we need to define these characters. Every great storyline has protagonists and supporting characters, and in this case, your protagonist obviously is you, but it's also your community and your advocates. These supporting characters that aren't central to the storyline include your audience and your user base. Often audience, user base, and community get commingled, and they're distinctly different, with your audience being all the people interested in what you're creating, whether or not they're using it, your users being everybody that's engaged with your app, and your community and your advocates being those most vocal and engaged people, which is why it's important to build those relationships up front. So how is an advocate different than a community member? They're the subset of the community that is most engaged. They're going to be spending the most time in app, talking on forums, on social media, evangelizing your product. And while we think of a community as a one-to-many conversation, advocates are really a one-to-one conversation. But truly, it's actually a one-to-one-to-many conversation when you think through their contributions that I make in-app and also through their networks. As somebody who's been a part of the VR community for half a decade now, it is incredible to be a part of this tight-knit fabric. But the reality is, for a lot of people, VR is lonely. They don't know community exists, much less that there's a community around your product. And that's where advocates can come in and really be the bridge between somebody trying your product once and leaving, or trying your product and feeling welcome and included and converting into a very enthusiastic community member. So if there's one major idea I hope you get here, it's this. When you shift your thinking of community as a program or just kind of this nice to have into an embedded core feature, it's going to revolutionize every single aspect of your design and your product features, and even the decision tree of how you allocate time and resources for your team. So let's move out of the utopia and the promise of community, and let's bring in the reality of the dynamic tension that can really sabotage your efforts. Every great story has antagonists, and this is no exception. In this case, it's internet trolls that can breed toxic culture. Now, nobody wakes up and says, I want to have a toxic culture in my community, but without the right infrastructures in place, that's going to be an inevitable part of your central storyline. Which is to say that building community from the ground up means we can't talk about community without also simultaneously bringing in safety. There are other really great talks that go deep into this, so I'm going to keep this really high level. While community can in some cases happen organically, the tone and the culture really requires some thoughtfulness. So I'll emphasize you do need to have a set of community standards that you not only write and enforce, and through that practice of writing them, it's going to set the tone, which will also be an extension of your values, which in turn will set the norms that your community and your super users will model out to others who come into the fold. A few social apps that do this very well are Rec Room, where they've got those standards right there in your dorm room, right when you drop in. Or Altspace VR, who's done a really great job of translating standards into an inclusive culture that now advocates model to newcomers. So with this foundational context of definitions and some of the pitfalls, let's explore the chapters, if you will, with this unfolding story. Quick recap, we have our protagonists, our supporting characters, and our antagonists. So how does a storyline fold out? Well, we have this community life cycle here, which of course is inherently cyclical once you get it kick off, but I'm going to talk about it linearly, like a beginning and an end. So chapter 1, in the beginning, you're asking, what is your community programming? How are you going to help people connect with each other? Examples might include tournaments, like you'll see in Echo VR, or the use of leaderboards, like you'll see in Beat Saber, or events like you'll see all across different social apps. Your community programming can also be embedded in product, like badges and progression systems. Maybe your system offers a badge for somebody who has done 10 events. That's going to do 2 things. It's going to acknowledge that person for their contribution, but now they're the in-the-know person for what people should do when they walk in. So take some time after our time together to think through your different core offerings embedded into your infrastructure and how you might be able to optimize. Now, chapter 2 is, who are your advocates? Advocates are these most engaged community members and people most committed to what you're doing. And developing the relationship with as few as 5 to 10 people can dramatically shift the tone of your community. I can't emphasize enough, take time to develop these relationships and it'll have massive impact on the longevity of your app. So how do you identify them? Well, if you spend a lot of time in game, they're there. If you're listening on forums and social media, they're responding in threads, posting regularly, responding to your company handle. There might even be that person that emails a really thoughtful, long email with feature requests and bugs that you didn't even know you had. With time being our biggest currency that's unrenewable, this is a really great signal somebody's really invested to being on the journey along with you. I'll even say that people who come across as frequent complainers can often be the best advocate converts once they feel heard and they're acknowledged. Now, if you're a smaller organization, the thought of being everywhere all the time can feel really overwhelming, so don't do it. Just pick 1 or 2 places and be strategic and thoughtfully listen and engage and start to forge those relationships. This is a great segue for chapter 3, which is looking at your platforms for engagement. Oculus has a variety of VR-specific tools that enable community formation and connection, as well as allow you as a developer to connect with your community. Really great talks you can look into on that, and especially check out Megan Fitzgerald's keynote, which goes into challenges that we just released. That's an amazing tool. Now, in our final chapter, we're looking at elevating voices and offering rewards. How are you going to acknowledge and appreciate people on your platform most excited about what you're creating? Not a one-size-fits-all for this, so you need to understand motivations. Let's say you have a creator ecosystem. One creator might want an audience, so you're looking at amplifying their voice on social channels or amplifying their message on a blog if you have it, or in product, looking at core features that can help ease of discoverability of what they've created. For other creators, they might be really motivated about uplifting others. They want to be on channels where other people are talking about your product. And for others, they might be motivated knowing they can help influence your roadmap. They want dev time. They want to sit down with you. They might even want first look at what you're creating so they can give early feedback. Again, not a one-size-fits-all approach, so take the time to understand the motivations of the people that matter most. My guess is you didn't start building because you wanted to create another app. You started to build because you had a vision that you needed to see out in the world. You saw a gap that needed to be filled, or you had a way you wanted to change the world. Through empowering the voices of the people that are most committed to you and standing alongside of you, you can fulfill on that vision, with the community uplifting you as you uplift them. As a final thought, let me ask you, how will you cultivate relationships with your advocates and help them fall deeper in love with your product?